Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tim Radio Show. I'm your host, Tim Radio. This is November 7th, and it is episode number 9. So we're going to start off with some stock market news. The Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ all hit record levels after China and the U.S. agreed to cancel tariffs in stages. So basically what this means is that they had like a little trade war going back and forth for a while. Trump just kept putting tariffs on stuff that's coming in from China so that China would make a deal that's a little bit more reciprocal, because we heard, like, in one of the clips I played the other day, Trump was saying that there's basically a $500 billion deficit just with China. So they buy $500 billion more than what China buys from them. So that's one of the big things he kind of wants to replenish the American stockpile, so to speak, by leveraging tariffs to tax them on the stuff that's coming in. Now, ultimately, that's a tax on the consumer. The consumer ends up paying that, but also what it does at the same time is it incentivizes people to actually come back locally and start producing products there, because it would actually be cheaper in that case when you consider the taxes and stuff. So you might pay more, but you're actually going to get a local product with local jobs and local benefits and et cetera, et cetera. So Trump was using that. He was leveraging that capability of even just moving out of China into other countries like Vietnam or Thailand or something like that. So trying to start getting hit with that, they started losing a lot of money. Businesses started to move out really quick just to save, a couple percent. Adds up when you're talking about millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars of sales. And China was kind of doing some funky stuff to kind of retaliate to it. You saw that with the Huawei stuff. There's just kind of like a lot of contention between the two. They're not really negotiating just based on monetary policies or anything like that. It's like quite a few layers deeper than that, which we'll see here in a second, I think. But that's good news. I mean, the whole stock market right now apparently is built on, the foundation itself is a bubble right now. So there's like a good 30% that could be lost in the stock market. But this kind of change is good. Like, this is not bubble related growth. So this is actually still a good increase, but like I said, the foundation itself is actually still a bubble. So I wouldn't get too excited about this unless you're actually in one of these industries that was getting tariffed, and now you can kind of sigh a bit of relief and, okay, cool, that's, it might not hurt your bottom line anymore. So in related news here, we got 9 fentanyl traffickers in China sentenced after a tip from U.S. officials. So this is actually an old tip that came up from 2017 when the Department of Homeland Security basically found an online drug vendor that was peddling these drugs, and they found out that they had like this really sophisticated sales and trafficking network and creating these products themselves. And one of the ways they're actually operating legally in a lot of ways by the basically, they would go and create a variation of a drug or a chemical, and that would no longer fall under certain classifications or regulatory things, so they could bypass that and keep producing these designer drugs. So they have this whole market of designer drugs, and fentanyl just end up being one of those. And kind of this was something that Trump and Xi were talking about. Trump was putting pressure on President Xi to stop fentanyl, because like 99% of all the fentanyl is coming from there, and it comes through Mexico or it comes through other spots, but that's where the States is mainly getting its illegal supply of fentanyl. So they caught these guys, and China has a notorious super hard penalty criminal code for drugs, basically for anything, really. You can go into slave labor camps and stuff like that, or even like they have these like reform camps where, like, if you're just a Christian trying to open a church or something like that, they actually put you in these camps and try to convert, because you're not allowed to practice religion there. It's an atheist state. You're not allowed to go there and like do these kind of religious things, and they'll penalize you for it. They'll put you in. They'll give you life for going around trying to convert people and those kind of things. The drug thing is the same kind of thing. If you're trying to sell drugs to people illegally, you can get the death penalty easy. You can get the death penalty. And some of these guys did. Some got like lesser time, some got up to death penalty, but they'll probably get this is what they say anyway. Most of the people that end up on essentially death row or whatever, it just ends up being a life in prison sentence. And a lot of these things, like there's been all these reports and stuff about them taking prisoners and harvesting their organs. So it's like, oh, well, you're whatever died, and then they go check it out, and then it's actually, they don't get to see the body, nothing like that. They just got to sign papers, and they got to pay for it, like the family does. It's just crazy stuff. But anyway, supposedly they cut some guys. I think it's actually related to the kind of trade news that we saw there. They're just kind of making each other happy, just step by step. You do this, I do that, and they, because they weren't doing this before. They had record levels of fentanyl coming in there, just like basically after Trump said stop this from coming in, and then presidency basically agreed that he would stop it, and then it got worse. But now you actually see this, and you see the trading thing at the same time. I think there's some other background stuff going on, so we'll see. Anyway, on the Canadian side of the market right now, specifically in the cannabis market, there's a lot of talk about there's just too much product. They actually had to burn a lot of product recently. There's just way too much inventory versus how much they're actually selling legally. The black market is still thriving big time. The cost for people to actually grow this themselves is much cheaper than it costs at the store, and it's very easy. There's so many people that have been doing it for so long, like on the illegal side. They didn't give any avenue for those people to go legit. So when we saw something like the vape cigarettes, they didn't regulate it. They didn't do anything. You just had shops come up everywhere. 3 out of 4 of them went bust. They did their thing for a bit, made a bunch of money, and then kind of trailed off. That's kind of what they should have did with the weed market. Just let the stores come out, let them off their products, do some kind of quality check, or have some organizations that can do quality checks that customers can say, hey, this doesn't have the seal, I don't know if I trust it. But if they want to buy from a buddy that they know that grows good stuff, who cares? Like, that's the risk. And now you got kids with popcorn lungs and stuff because they're doing the same thing with these e-cigarettes and THC e-vapes and stuff like that. So they're going to do this stuff anyway. There's no sense for the government to try to be organizing all this stuff, have their own stores, try to get as much money out of it as possible, and they just do a shitty job. They have wasteful packaging. They're really slow. They can't keep up with the supply and demand. They can't service the people the way they need because they can only have X amount of stores in a certain amount of places. They need to open this back up or just open it up to the private market. Now, some provinces are starting to, and they're also starting to allow things like edibles and beverages and stuff like that. And then also recently, as you see highlighted, the Hexo Corp, they created a side brand, like a kind of like a no-name brand, I guess, called Original Stash, where it's basically half the price of what it normally is. Now, they used to have a kind of a price, like you had to sell it for certain prices. And so the government's starting to ease up a little bit on that. But even still, you look at something like this, how much inventory they have versus how many sales are at, they're never going to hit 400,000. Even if they go full private, that's just not, and their profit margins are so slim. The profit that they make off the product is good, but their operating costs in general, and they keep buying new land, so that it's kind of like a constant expansion. They have to just keep expanding in order to keep things going. And so they're constantly raising money and leveraging debt and then getting more plants because their profit margin is only like 1%. So they have to actually just keep scaling, and it's scalable debt. So a lot of these companies are actually going to go bust, and then someone else is going to come in and pick up their real estate and their infrastructure for like pennies on the dollar, and they don't care because it's just all on the books, and no one person's really going to lose their ass except maybe some people who put too much money in some specific stocks. But that's probably what's going to happen to at least a few companies anyway. Kind of in a similar type of thing, out in BC, there's an exchange, cryptocurrency exchange, which a cryptocurrency exchange is just like a Forex market where you can buy and sell like a US dollar to a Canadian dollar, to pesos, to euros, whatever. And people trade that professionally. They buy and sell once high, low, and they go back and forth, and make the percent differences or whatever, or $1 does better than the other, and they hold it for a long time and they cash it when the dollar does better, whatever. So cryptocurrency is the same thing. There's all these different brands of cryptocurrency, and you can buy and sell them. So you can buy Ethereum with Bitcoin or Bitcoin with Ethereum, and there's big sites that set up. They allow you to do all this stuff. They hold your currency in that, so you're basically transferring your currency into their system and then trading like that. Now the problem is you don't actually know when and what, like you don't really see the difference between what you're trading, what you're looking at, and to be able to actually verify that is where it is, that the actual money is still stashed to back it. So whatever they're using as a backing scheme, like to say, hey, we're going to issue a coin, we're going to issue 1 million coins, we have $1 million in the bank, so every coin's going to be worth $1. Here you go, we're issuing the currency, now you guys can go trade it. So a lot of times they do something like that, and usually it's with the money that they raise. So they'll raise like $60 million and they'll issue a new currency, and that's kind of the value of the currency. But then it always goes up and down. People pump and dump because you don't actually know where the actual money is. You can see where the coin is, the artificial coin, but you don't see where the backing of it actually is still stored. So anyway, the cryptocurrency exchanges are notorious for accepting all these currencies, but in the back end, they're actually cashing out these currencies. So they're actually taking these, converting them to Bitcoin, and then selling it into cash and stuff like that. And then they just keep allowing everybody to trade this fake stuff. And then it's kind of like a Ponzi scheme. They'll pay, if someone's trying to pull out, they'll pay, like in whatever currencies. But it's always less than what they're trying to actually funnel out of the back. And they can just fake it with all this accounting stuff. And cryptocurrency in general is just notoriously difficult, so you kind of need professional traders to see it, and then when professional traders see it, they actually take advantage of it because they know it's going to crash, so they'll short it. So they'll take all these basically bets paid into them, saying from other people who don't think the currency is going to go down, but they know because statistically they can see there's no money there, it has to fall out. So there's just so many things wrong with it. Of course, the currency exchange gets shut down. It was called the Einstein exchange. I mean, look at their, like, yeah, real professional. But the thing is, these guys probably made millions. No doubt they took out millions. And some people would put it like, look, $100K. This guy was trading, owes $100,000 on his American Express because that's the thing, he's paying with his credit card. They get the cash. They're issuing like kind of crap currencies. And they're not even issuing the currency. They're just allowing people to trade. But they're taking in actual real currency while they're allowing people to trade stuff. And there's just you never get to see what's in the actual background. So anyway, it goes a little deeper than that. This is kind of crazy. But whatever. Just, if you're going to do any kind of trading, just make sure you get in and get out. That's what my suggestion would be. This is in the wrong order. I want to play this first. Yeah, so check this out. We talked about The View the last couple times. They're crazy. This one's a little crazy, but I just want to play these and we'll talk about it.
To talk about that. Actually, let me ask you, do you regret retweeting that?
I don't think I should have to forego my first...
Okay, so just a little quick context. Donald Trump Jr. tweeted the whistleblower's name. Now, this actually came out. It's Eric something. The whistleblower, let's talk about the Ukraine call that President Trump had with the Ukraine president that kind of suggested there was some kind of quid pro quo. He tweets the name of the person, but this was actually out in a report that even Drudge Report referenced. It's not a Drudge Report. They just linked to reports. And Drudge Report's probably one of the most popular websites on the planet. Actually, by far. So this was something that was actually known for about... and it's an alleged whistleblower. So they're saying alleged. They didn't actually confirm. I don't know if it's actually confirmed yet or not. But at the time, they're saying this is apparently who the whistleblower is because it's the only person that fits the description of all the stuff they described. So they talked about this was a person that worked here and did this and did that. And then they just kind of, process of deduction, just figured out who it was. So Donald Trump just ends up tweeting it because the media wasn't allowed to do it. but it didn't stop anybody else technically from doing it. So that's what they're talking about here. And then there's a lot of yelling or whatever. But this girl over here was basically saying, do you regret saying that?
I should have to forego my First Amendment rights. I didn't want to create hysteria, but if I'm reading an article, be like, oh, the name's out there. I didn't even realize that this thing's some sort of big sort of secret.
You don't regret doing that?
I don't regret doing it. No, I don't think I should have to forego my First Amendment rights. It's out there. I read it in an article. I've been reading it for a week. I saw it on the Drudge Report. Like, this is not some secret. But to then say, because it's Donald Trump Jr., because he's an outspoken guy, to then create... Why was there no...
This is not a MAGA rally, okay? Like, he's answering the question and defending himself.
Guy, to then create...
Why was Jr., because he's an outspoken guy, to then create... Why was there no...
Like, everything she does, she's not talking to the people at the table. That's the weird thing about her. This is some kind of creature from hell that has their own game in mind. Now, these people, they're all kind of looking at each other. Like, you can see her, she's looking over there, Whoopi's looking at him, she's looking off into the distance, like, she kind of feeds off the audience, and they have an applause sign above her head, so I don't know what, she's so stupid, she's so stupid and vain, that she didn't even get the laughter half the time, just a response to them just cueing laughter so it doesn't get awkward, or cueing clapping. That's the worst thing. You don't want like dead air, so you don't want to say a statement that could be right or wrong, but forcefully, and then have nobody clap or someone boo. So they just light that thing up every once in a while at the end of a statement.
No outrage when Drudge Report, which is a major website, probably the largest aggregator of media news in America,
Look, she gets off on it. Look as if everyone's agreeing with her, and he's just talking, right? And she tells him to calm down.
This is not a MAGA rally, okay?
Why was there no outrage when Drudge Report, which is a major website, probably the largest aggregator of media news in America, he puts it out there a few days ago, and no, crickets, no problem with that.
Because probably not a lot of people knew that it was out there, but once you put it out,
on Drudge, millions of people see Drudge today.
I'm saying to you, listen, man, I don't know how many people here read the Drudge Report. I don't know, but I'm saying a lot more people know your name than know the Drudge Report.
See, I don't even think that's true. Maybe if you say Donald Trump versus Drudge Report, but Donald Trump Jr. in the fact that because he tweeted it, right? So that doesn't just because people know who Donald Trump is doesn't mean that Donald Trump Jr.'s Twitter is going to get picked up because they know Donald Trump over Drudge Report. I mean, by far, Drudge Report is the biggest site out there in terms of news. So Whoopi's just wrong on that. The point's not valid.
I know it's a fair point.
Let's move on.
I understand.
I want to talk about the memo of the call, because I don't believe it's a transcript. In the memo of the call that was released from the White House.
Yeah, so that's fine. Well, this is the other part that I want to play here. Part of it. So, if you remember a long time ago when Trump was running as the Republican leader to run for the head the Republican Party, well, he still had competitors there. He would give speeches and stuff like that, and then he was talking about building the wall of Mexico and stuff, and he's saying they're not sending over their finest, they're sending over rapists, they're sending over blah, blah, blah. And they went with it like, oh, he said Mexicans are rapists. Like they even say in the title, defends Mexicans are... Notice how they say rapists in quotes, but not Mexicans are rapists in quotes. Right? Like, really gotta... And then slur by telling Joy Behar, you've worn blackface. So they quote him saying that correctly, but not Trump Sr. saying Mexicans are rapists. Mexicans are rapists. I don't see how you're allowed to write that title like that. I don't see how that's... How is that not like slander? You're saying Mexicans are rapists. Just because you quoted one word doesn't void the fact that you still said he defends Mexicans are rapists statement. Ugh, so weird. Anyway, check this out.
To her point, He also called Mexicans rapists. He made.
He
Wait a
said that
second.
some coming across the border are, and that's a fact. Look at what's going on
I
at
can
the
tell you
border.
that. Let her finish. Let her finish.
Called some Mexicans rapists. He attacked the handicapped. He bragged about
also
it.
not true.
Listen, we heard the.
Just to cover that part, I'm going to show you a clip of him saying the rapist thing or whatever. But the handicap part, this was a guy that he had like a gimp hand, like his arm was messed up, whatever. And he had asked the president this question, and the guy was like all over the place. He's like, do you think whatever? And he's just kind of like stuttering, whatever. He has no verbal issues, nothing like that. He just was stumbling, whatever. And then he has a messed up arm, and you can see Trump do the exact same mockery of just totally able people and other people. I don't think he even saw the fact that the person had a bad arm. He's like in a crowd asking, and he goes, "Ooh," like waves his arms like, "Oh, I don't know," and he kind of mocks him like that. It's like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm saying," or whatever. But you can literally pull up a compilation video of him just doing that to like everybody. So just to say he mocked disabled people, like, it's so stupid, man. It's such lazy thinking to say stuff like that.
Hold on. We heard the access tape where he bragged about
See, even the crowd was just like, what?
grabbing women by their genitalia. She's talking about, that's what Megan is talking about. She's talking about lowering the discourse to his level, which is horrible for this country. Even if people are working, we don't want to have a country like that. Do you understand
We've
that?
all
They
done
don't like
things.
the vessel or the scenario, so they tweet. But nevertheless, look at the result.
We've all done things that we regret. I mean, if we're talking about bringing the discourse down, Joy, you've worn blackface. Whoopi,
No,
you
I
said
haven't.
that Roman Polanski.
I'm sorry, and don't, if you
said
do
that,
it.
I mean, if
Check
we're
that
talking
out.
about bringing the discourse down, Joy, you've worn blackface. Whoopi,
No,
you
I
said
haven't.
that Roman Polanski.
I'm sorry, and don't, if
you
you
said
do
that
it.
Roman Polanski, it wasn't rape when he raped a child. So let's
Okay,
talk about
so yeah, no,
serious
let's
things.
talk
Come on,
about
that's
this. So
not
you
fair.
want to bring this up? The question came up.
I did not go
about,
in blackface, please.
No, she was not in blackface.
Thank you.
Sorry, listen, being black, I recognize blackface.
Man, so much with that. But check this out. Oops. Oh, what's that? That's not Joy, but that's not her. That's someone else, actually. Oh, wait a second.
They had an op-ed piece in praise of naturally curly hair. They say that it's making a comeback.
When
Are
did
you
it leak?
excited?
I've always had curly
That
hair.
is
Y'all
a
leak.
feminist statement.
Okay.
What do you...
Is that you, Joy?
Oh, you know this picture.
Joy, is that you? Joy, that is you?
Yeah.
Oh, Joy, are you
Wait.
black?
No, I know.
Joy.
I was so cute. Look how cute I was.
Are you my auntie, Joy?
That is me.
My word. What year is this? Circa
I
what?
was 29. It was a Halloween party. I went as a beautiful African woman.
Oh, yeah.
A beautiful African woman.
Oh.
It was a Halloween party. I went as a beautiful African woman.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
Oh. So she went as a beautiful African woman. That's not blackface.
Rape when he raped a child. So let's
Okay,
talk about
so yeah, no,
serious
let's
things.
talk
Come on,
about
that's
this. So
not
you
fair.
want to bring this up? The question came up.
I did not go
about,
in blackface, please.
No, she was not in blackface.
Thank you.
Sorry, listen, being black, I recognize blackface. This I can say. Okay? I know what
Black community backed me up on that.
So now that you've broken this piece of ice, because I guess this is the fight you wanted.
It's not the fight I want.
Yeah, it is.
But if we're
Because
talking
when
about
you-
character, if we're
because
talking
when-
about these
Are you
things.
questioning my character?
I'm not
No,
questioning your
talking about
character.
my
I'm
father's
talking about
character.
you're questioning my father's character.
I'm
and
not,
I say
I'm
we all
sorry,
have done
I didn't
and said
question
things.
anybody. I simply said that when you're talking about that your father's taken more heat than anybody else, that it's not so.
I mean, if you don't think Trump's taking more heat than any other president, Obama got a lot of heat for sure, and there's like a lot of racist stuff with that for sure. But you get a lot of racist stuff with Trump. A lot of people hate Trump because he's a rich billionaire white dude. But just in general, even the white people hate Trump just because he's like a buffoon character, and they think he's stupid and he's brash and he says really crazy stuff, and he's just a brute. But his point, like Junior's point here, is basically just the fact, like, we all say stupid stuff. Sometimes we say it wrong. Sometimes we say it weird. Sometimes come around, whatever. We just do bad things. We do wrong things. So we shouldn't be getting caught up on this kind of silly stuff. Like, I mean, that's kind of the gist of it there. And he's like, you've done this, you've done that. Like, he's not calling her out because she wore blackface, saying, hey, you wore blackface, you're racist. He's saying, look, you've done this. This is not a big deal. Like, we don't have to treat you bad because you did that. But then she doesn't even acknowledge that she did. She just lies. I never did that. I never did that. I never did that. And then she's like, oh, I was 29. I was going as a beautiful African woman. Okay, first of all, why would you have to preface it with, I went as a beautiful African woman? I went as a fucking African woman. Who cares? But they're the one injecting race and beauty and looks and money and all this kind of stuff into people's intentions and whatever. So, you know, Trudeau, like, even when Trudeau got caught doing that, I was just like, who cares? I hate the guy. It's stupid. Of course he's a hypocrite. That's the stupid part. That's the dumb part about him, is that he's the type of guy going around saying, you're not allowed doing this kind of stuff. And the same thing here. The type of person going around saying, you're not allowed doing this, you're not allowed doing this, is the one actually going around doing it. Like, I think that's what you call projection. But here's a clip when he's talking about the Mexican rapist thing.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Now, you've tried to clarify this statement in recent...
I mean, that's clear. Like, you can see he says kind of the first part wrong. And then he said, and some, I assume, are great people. Now, if you think the majority of the people coming over, like, you can't look at the sample of the size of the people that are here legitimately, like your neighbor or something like that. Oh, they came illegally, but they're a great guy, they work, they do all this kind of stuff. You can't take that sample and apply it to the sample that is actually coming across the border. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of, like, women, stuff like that, and trying to get over just for a better life and those types of things. But the majority of the people that are actually coming through are actual dumps from other countries. So a lot of times they will empty a prison. Like, in some countries, they will empty a prison, put them on a bus, and send them somewhere. Like, to another country, like, straight up to a border, and say, look, you're out, don't ever come back, or we're killing you. They'll do stuff like that. That happens a lot. Now, Mexico got caught doing this a couple times with prisons. They actually emptied out some of the worst prisons and just let them go and said, get the hell out of here. And they just go walk right across the border. There's the drug cartels and stuff like that make money transporting people over. So it's a commerce thing that they're getting these people over. But when they're doing that at the same time, like, the people actually taking them over, they're raping and murdering. Like, they found tens of thousands of murdered people that were trying to cross. Their bones and everything getting dug up all over the place along the border, largely on the Mexico side. Because even the people that get to the border, they still rob them, rape them, murder them, kidnap them, and do all this kind of stuff. And then some they'll let actually go through if they actually are able to pay off the thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars required for it. So the actual, if you're talking about percentages, the mass majority of the people actually crossing illegally like that are of the bottom tier of society, for better or for worse, good intentions or bad intentions, but definitely the lowest end. And just watch this part too.
Recent days, Donald, but I guess the question comes down to this: do you regret saying that specifically about rapists, or do you stand by it?
No, not at all. Of course, it's not only Mexico. If you let that run a little bit longer, it talks about people coming from all over. They're coming from all over. They'll soon be coming, and probably already have, be coming from all over the world. You're probably going to have terrorists coming from the Middle East. Somebody said, oh, we don't have terrorists. They don't even know, because they don't know who's coming. So we have this open border.
It's a sieve. It's like water pouring through. People are coming in by the hundreds of thousands. We have no idea who's coming in, and it's not just Mexicans. And I have a great relationship with Mexico and with Mexicans. I have an absolutely great relationship. But we're not just talking about Mexico. Now, Mexico is very smart. You know, Mexico makes it impossible. It's one of the hardest nations in the world to become a citizen of, okay? But people run through Mexico. They go through our border like nothing. They end up, we don't know who these people are, but all you have to do is you should do a show from the border. Talk to the border security. You will see the kind of people coming. You'll see the kind of crime that's being...
Now, you can actually pull up some videos and stuff like that where not only the border security, but people even on private property that borders with Mexico or even with the walls and stuff. There's videos on YouTube that you can watch that actually shows them like dealing with a lot of these people and stuff, and it's crazy, man. There'll be like shootouts and stuff. Sometimes it's just like a caravan of people that just seem like, you know, like the nice people that just want a better life and stuff. But they're being transported by like some of the worst people in the world. So anyway, enough about that. Little in the creepy science section. The CRISPR-Cas9 protein to increase precision of gene editing. So CRISPR is basically gene editing technology. They can go in and they can actually like cure diseases. They can do designer babies. Like if you're like, hey, I want my baby to have green eyes, they can basically edit the baby as it's being born, being developed, and determine what kind of hair color it have. They can virtually edit any gene they want. Now, the problem with this was the earlier versions, because if you picture this, it's almost like a brute force attack, but selectively. So you have to send in millions and millions of this enzyme, like a particular type of enzyme, and this enzyme will go and try to edit the actual genome of your cells. So it has to edit all your gene. It has to actually go in and start like cell by cell by cell. You can't just change one and then have it whatever, because that would metastasize as cancer, like if one part just only started doing its own thing. So it has to kind of be applied unanimously to like all the cells in your body. But the problem with that is that sometimes it would interfere with other genes. So there'd be like, it's supposed to edit this gene, but actually in some other strain of some other, you know, particular person, because everyone's different, right? And then it just connects to another part at the same time, but it's going to do this to like every cell in your body. So it just turns you into a mutant essentially, if it doesn't go exactly perfect. Or you could just develop cancer over years and years, or something might happen. Like you just don't know, because they don't get a verification if it went well. It's not like they actually do it and then they're like, oh yeah, it's perfect, didn't edit anything else. You would have to sequence someone's entire genome, which is fine, they can do that, do the editing, and then keep retesting that over and over to make sure that like nothing kind of got in there or some residual effect is in there. But anyway, this new one, this Cas9 SACAS9 genome editing, it's more specific. They can do, like, I guess they just have higher precision. But the really creepy thing about this is that this could be turned into a biological weapon. This is an enzyme. This is just an enzyme. Your spit produces enzyme. Virtually every chemical reaction, or even electrochemical reactions, happen through the use of enzymes. Building proteins in your blood, and so it's all through enzymes. Enzymes is just a protein. So this could be put into the air, water, food, everything, and could be done in a way that could easily mass edit people's genome. I don't see how that's not possible. So, I mean, really interesting technology. Could be super powerful. When they actually do perfect it, you can cure everything. You could fix every single thing. But then at the same time, you could literally make superhumans. You can make humans 10 feet tall. You can make them 2 feet tall. You could literally change you could customize your own person using this technology when it gets to the point where it's actually... But this is also kind of like the supercomputer that takes up a whole floor in a university in the 70s. That's kind of the stage it's at now. It's just a big brute of a machine that doesn't really do that well. But practicing it and refining it and getting it smaller, cheaper, and mass producing it, then it's going to actually start to pick up, and you're going to have like really serious human tests and stuff. I would say probably in the next 20-30 years, you're actually going to see some babies being born publicly. They're doing this privately, but publicly, and really doing, like, seeing some weird people. Like, for better or for worse, like some weird stuff. Kind of in a similar type news, some actors are upset about the fact that they're casting James Dean in a movie, but like his CG, because he's dead, so they're using a CGI version of him. Now, they're upset about this, like, this is stupid, blah, blah, blah. No, this shouldn't be a thing. But here's the thing. They're still hiring an actor. There's still other actors. There's still a whole thing there. The guy, they're going to use, like, probably motion capture to get, like, the movement, the face. Like, this is what they did with the Tupac hologram, right? So they had this hologram of Tupac on stage, and it looks like he's actually on stage. But it's actually an actor that looks like him, sounds like him, gets the mannerisms, acts just like him, but then they CGI the face. They kind of, like, deep fake the face. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to essentially deep fake a video using James Dean's face. Instead of having, like, Chris Evans play him or having Elijah Woods play him. Why not? Okay, you could still play him, but it's just not going to be your face. It's going to be James Dean's face. So what's the problem? You have CGI movies. What's the problem with the CGI? You have cartoon Disney movies. You're upset that Disney movies they spend millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, like $100 million making like a CGI movie that they could do live action or hybrid or whatever. And plus, like, if the family still owns the rights to the face, or even if they don't own the rights to the face, like as an intellectual property, just like the Einstein family would start to, I think around the 90s, they started suing people for using the likeness of Einstein, using Einstein's face on, like Apple products, and Apple doesn't pay for it. Well, they don't have to because it's expired. That's like an intellectual property thing. After like 70 years or something like that, you can't claim that anymore as kind of like the heir to his likeness. So I'm assuming the same kind of situation with James Dean. Either the family still owns it, because it says 6.5 decades, right? So I think it's like 70 years, but it's fair game. It's a song from the 1800s. You're not gonna have a musician. You don't have to have a musician play. You can do it on your computer. Doesn't mean you're getting rid of musicians. So it's just kind of this whole bubble up of this, like it's a big problem that's going to replace people or whatever. It's just a choice. It's an option. People opt in or opt out. They would rather see his face than someone playing him, all else being equal. And you're still going to have all the other actors, so it's not even it's just stupid. Now, this is ridiculous. This guy, I'm going to show you a video about this guy in a second. This is a pretty popular rapper. He's been picking up some steam probably the last couple of years. I kind of think he sold his soul to the devil in a metaphorical sense or whatever, just kind of selling it to Hollywood and stuff and doing whatever. But he just seems like he's messed up anyway. But he's getting backlash right now because basically, I'll save you the details of the article too much, but he basically goes and takes his daughter every year to make sure she's still a virgin. That's it. He takes her to the doctor, and I'll read you this part here because it's messed up. So he says, we got to go check. I don't even want to say the word. It's just awkward to say, but taking her to he's 39 years old. He has an 18-year-old daughter. Taking her to the gynecologist to check to see if she's actually a virgin. And the doctor basically says, that doesn't really prove anything. It's, could be broken otherwise. That can happen just by riding bikes and sports and stuff like that. And he's like, so I say, look, doc, she don't ride no horses. She don't ride no bike. She don't play no sports. Just check it, please, and give back my results expeditiously. Right? Now, I'll show you how this guy talks in a minute. He's a total turd. Like, he's just an idiot, man. And he says, I will say, as of her 18th birthday, she's still a virgin. Why is he talking about this? He's actually talking about it publicly. Is he trying to sell her something? What the hell is this? It's retarded, man. And then you go look at this. This is actually him, 6-7 years ago.
That's true.
But on the
Let's not
assault
like talks.
rifle conversation.
But here's the thing. This actually ties back over into that clip we saw with The View. And Donald Trump Jr. saying, look, you could have done this before. This is stupid. You could have done that in this way or that way. Right? It makes sense. You can see what people change their views over time, whatever. By the way, that last thing we just saw is current. This is old here, this video. But just look at the way he addresses gun control.
Okay.
Do you ever feel like there's a necessity to have that much artillery in your home where you're shooting off hundreds and hundreds of rounds?
I understand that.
Because part of the issue that happened in Connecticut was the fact that this person was able to shoot hundreds of rounds at children.
They said six shots a second or something like that.
Right, so I believe in banning assault rifles for civilians.
Understood. See, now, and this is my problem with stepping in right now in the ban of anything. Then see, what that does is that means only the criminals are going to be allowed to have this particular
because they'll
item.
purchase illegal.
Because right now it's criminals that can't have assault rifles, pistols, fullies, or nothing, and they got them, and they know they can't have them. So you think if they ban them, what, it's gonna be double illegal for me now? I'm still gonna carry mine. See, so
I agree with him here. I agree with that statement. I agree with that statement, but I totally disagree with that article we're reading now. So. But it's going to get tied in a little further. So watch this. This is a recent interview. This is now as well. This is in September. And he has Alex Jones on. He's talking to Alex Jones. Now, look at the way he talks. Like this kind of attitude he has now, right? Because he's kind of gotten to a different position now versus the last one you saw. And just watch this.
You know what I'm saying? My problem with him is the disregard and disrespect for Black lives and all of the rhetoric that he spews that galvanizes.
What's an example?
They're very fine people on both sides.
Oh, I'd love to elaborate on that.
Now, you can say what... Now, this is the thing. I can give you credit for being exceptionally smart and intelligent, or I can deal with you as though you are exceptionally dumb and unintelligent. But I can't hop back and forth and do both.
Why not? I just did it with you. You're a sick pervert and a disgusting idiot in one sense, but yeah, you still have made a perfectly valid point about gun control. So why can't Trump say something stupid in one case but still say something totally brilliant in the next case? Someone can't be smart and stupid in two different ways. Like, if you're smart in one thing, you're smart in everything. If you're smart, you have to be brilliant or you have to be completely stupid. And I just hate the slowness, as if he's got some kind of secret revelation that is about to be broadcast to the minds of the public. Like, just a stupid kind of, like, you're saying something super enlightened, and just kind of like that kind of cocky attitude and the slowness. Like, I like the way he was talking more like this. Even though he talks like he talks like super country style here, he sounds like a total goofball.
I'm in a place for everything. You know what I mean? Last night was the time for me to speak my mind. Right now is a time for me to take my own advice. I'm gonna have a humble spirit right now.
So I mean, there's like that's kind of country twang to it or whatever, and that's one thing. But you know, that really slow, drawn out, and then you're saying something as if it's like a fact. Like, I can assume you're exceptionally smart or exceptionally stupid. I can't do both. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Yes, you can. Where's the breakdown in that? Why can't that be totally valid? So anyway, they go on, they're just talking about this, and look, his thing's expeditiously. So when he's talking about, I want my results expeditiously, he's plugging while talking about his daughter's virginity. And then he goes and preaches to Alex Jones about the fact that Trump says stupid stuff and he can't be both smart and dumb. So he either knows it, and just so you know what he was actually talking about there when he's talking about find people on both sides. So that's actually the Charlottesville thing when, I don't know if you remember, but there's like this clash between the left and the right. There's supposed to be these white supremacists at this rally thing, and then Antifa showed up and they kind of clashed with each other. And then this guy in like a Mustang like ran over somebody and like killed somebody or something like that with their car, like plows right into the crowd. And then Trump had this like speech talking about it. They're asking him questions about it. And he was basically, they're like, will you disavow the KKK and all that kind of stuff? He's like, yes, absolutely. There's no place for that. Absolutely, that was wrong. But you got to realize there's people on both sides of that. That was a two-sided thing. You had horrible people on the left. You had horrible people on the right. You had people there with masks on and sticks whacking people over the head. And you had white supremacists there. And I'm sure there was fine people on both sides. So Antifa and those people that were on the other side, which it wasn't just binary. It was the left side of it was the Antifa. The right side of it was racists, and it was just people that was fighting that, I think it was like a General Lee statue or something. They wanted to tear down the statue. They actually had a permit to go there and kind of do like a protest thing saying, keep the statue. And then Antifa came in without a permit, without anything, and masked up all in black with like pepper spray and sticks, clubs, all this kind of stuff. And then Trump's just saying, you had good people on both sides, you had bad people on both sides. That's a horrible thing. I disavow everything, blah, blah, blah. And then they just took that and ran with the fact that he said there's good people on both sides. So that means he likes racists. It's unbelievable. And actually, you know what? I'm going to pull that clip up because you got to see it to actually believe it. See if we can pull this up right quick.
You're putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane.
Yes, they're on the same moral plane, actually. Yeah, on the far left and the far right. Two ends of a spectrum. That's far left, far right. You can't just say far right, that's Nazis, but far left are just people who peacefully protest. No, you got to equate the extremes to the extremes. One's an extreme, the other's extreme. The far left is groups like Antifa that go around smack people in the head with bike locks.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
On both sides, sir? You said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Now, there's a lot of cool things about that. First of all, it's just refreshing to just actually see a politician just say something forcefully against these people that are asking him questions. Like, he's like fighting them on their, instead of like trying to make something that's easy to get through, to get by, to like, I don't even want to talk about this. Like, I just want to, like, let's get out of here. He's like making a point to them, basically yelling at the media, saying, if you guys actually did your job, you'd see this. And the way he actually states it is like kind of a perfect insult. Because like, how would you rebuttal this? And he makes them stop to listen. He's not going to talk over them. And wait, and then they.
If you reported it accurately, you would say.
So if you reported it accurately, and then all they can say is, we do report it accurately, then well, that's not a rebuttal to what I say. You're just saying the opposite. Like, you can't really prove that you do it accurately, right? Because they're saying their accuracy is the implication that he likes racists, or that these two groups were complete, like, it was just a one-sided event.
Started this. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
So that's quite specific.
In that group that were there, in that group, excuse me, were very fine people on both sides. People that were very fine people on both sides. You had.
So where's this thing that he's like, I don't understand what the problem with that statement is. I mean, even if it was just all racist and then it was all Antifa clashing, I mean, even if he still said that, you can't kind of qualify a statement to to ease a statement just by saying, look, I'm sure I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt. Just saying, no, you're not allowed to do that. You have to assume that everybody that was in that group is a racist and that they're evil. So anyway, you can actually pull up some Charlottesville clips. We got a couple minutes. Let's just do one real quick. Let's just watch this. I mean, this is the level of stuff.
Charlottesville, Virginia, where 2 people have been injured in an altercation with protesters who are out in force over the planned removal of a Confederate statue. Watch this. Well, this ugly scene unfolded just moments ago. From what we understand, clergy members have just arrived at Emancipation Park. That's the site of that protest today, leading groups in prayer. Meantime, militiamen armed with guns also began arriving a short while ago, and you see the result. Police are expecting thousands of people to show up for this demonstration today. The actual event was supposed to start an hour from now, but obviously the tensions in the crowd boiled.
So actually, most of the people with the shields, like those black-white shields, that's the left. That's the Antifa group. They're going shoving people and stuff. There's people that came here legitimately, and then those guys showed up and started doing stuff like that. It's not a white nationalist rally. You can actually pull something up with Gavin McInnes where he was going to go to this event, but then it started kind of getting hijacked by white nationalists. So a lot of people didn't end up going because they're like, it might get messy. It's not going to be a good thing. But then, so he doesn't go, whatever. He kind of steps away from it. But there's still a lot of people that went there just to be like, screw it, man. I'm going anyway. I don't care who shows up. And so Nazis show up and Antifa shows up and just battle it out. And a lot of innocent people got caught in the crossfire with that. They just wanted to see what's going on or just record it or just be like a news thing. Like I remember Caitlin Bennett, the gun girl there, she got roughed up a bit. And they actually just put her on TV saying, like, look at the white nationalist. And she was there as a reporter. So it's just classic stuff. But I like calling them out when they say stupid things. I like to show you actually what actually happened. The actual context of the sentence, the full, the before and the after. And I just really don't agree with all this BS that they do. And I don't think most people do. I think most people, I could go check it out for at least the first time, they lose all credibility. So you see someone like Joy Behar saying, so I never did blackface. And then I show you that she said, like she even says it herself, I went as a beautiful African woman. Yeah, well, you lose. You lost that one, Joy. You look like an idiot because a lot of people are actually going to go Google Joy Behar and blackface, and that's probably going to be trending now. So I don't know how I bet you she'll respond to it tomorrow, and they're going to swing it somehow. It's like, but I didn't put makeup on. That was my natural hair, and I just wore some garb. But yet, if I go and dress up as like a Native American or like the classic Indian on Halloween, then I'm racist. Yeah, but an old Jewish lady can do it, I guess. Like, it's so stupid. But anyway, that's the episode for today. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share the link, subscribe, post it on Facebook, do all that kind of stuff. It's the only way to tell the Google algorithm that we're actually doing a good job and that the information's consistent or that the viewership's consistent. And hopefully you made it this far. If not, then no worries because you don't hear what I'm saying. So anyway, we'll see you in the next episode of The Tim Radio Show.